Saining. It is the Scottish word for blessing, consecrating and protection. This goes on around the world and many continents use a thing called smudging. In a way it is similar, but it is the way of the Scots, just like in England they have their way of doing it as well. And if we go back centuries, we'll find that it wasn't done in bundles, it was taken as branches and burnt in the fire that would then release the smoke. They would build the fires actually of those leaves rather than wood. And so you can imagine the amount of smoke that would come off of them. The Anglo-Saxons in England would have called it Reconing. So same sort of thing, guys, but just got a different title. There are also plants and herbs and things that are used only available in England or Scotland. So saining and walding can be put together because walding is what it's stating. It is putting a barrier up, a protection. It's walding things around you, not to be able to get near you. So you're warding off something. Again, a form of protection, as I've just said. When I was training in the coven, guys, I remember very well this worry about learning so much and knowing that the others around me that had been there a lot longer probably knew a lot of the stuff that I was learning. And as humans, we always like to put a face on things. Oh yeah, I know all about that. I know all about that. I've already learned that. Instead of being truthful and saying, would you mind giving me a hand on that? In the first degrees, it would be an accumulation of learning and everybody would be at different stages, obviously. And so we would have times where the high priest or high priestess would say, get the sacred herbs for tonight. And you'd think, oh, I can't remember what they are. Somewhere you would have had it written down, but you know, can you remember on the night? Can you find that in your book? Did you bring your book of shadows? Yeah, you get the drift. You'd be, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't know what they are, and I've told everyone that I know what they are. So, humans are humans, and we learn through experience. And the point I'm trying to make, guys, is when you learn something and retain it, it's because you've experienced it, not that you've read it in a book. And that is the brilliant part of being a witch. When you learn something, you retain it and it stays in here. And of course, you write it down in your book of shadows or you write it down in your grimoire. Sometimes you have things so imprinted in your mind that you don't forget, like certain rituals and words that you say, or different procedures that you do. And the herbs for saining or reconing is in there. So they're a good thing to learn. Of course, reference must be made to around the world with smudging. Now, smudging is seemingly seen as for the Native Americans. And yes, they have their own white sage and grass and all the stuff that they do. They put tobacco and all sorts of stuff in. It is relevant for their area, and yes, it is very much theirs. The white sage that grows there doesn't grow here. So, does that mean we cannot use plants and things to smudge with? Of course we can. Every country has its own traditions, and England is no different to anywhere else. And of course the sage that is found in England and or UK in general is called Salvia verbenica, clary or wild sage. And so it is different to the sage in the United States. The benefits of wild sage in England are the following. Regulates cholesterol and blood sugar, so good for diabetics. Treats digestive problems, improves mental function. It also helps women with their menstrual pain and all the things that go with that, the bloating and all that. So it's a very good plant to make use of. And so how much more to use it in combination with other things. You can see by this that even our ancestors knew the greatness of doing this. And of course in magic, it would have been used in rituals and healings and all sorts of things. So yes, America has their own, but also in Europe and England or the UK, Ireland, Scotland, saining or smudging. I will use the term smudging because I think it just incorporates and it somehow makes you believe what you're seeing, the smoke. Whereas if you use the old terms, it's sort of when you were back then. We don't really use reconing for it. If you're coming from Scotland, it would be called saining. Plants and herbs for many years have always been used, going back as far as you can even think of. They can cleanse the energy of a person, the energy of a room, the energy of an area. You know, a big bonfire of this smoke will cleanse a complete area and everything that's in it. Ritual and ceremonies that were done way back then and even to this day. Also, the first one I'd like to talk about is something that is used by everybody. Bay leaves. And they can have quite a bitter taste to them, but they are very good. They're known as the wishing leaf because if you're going to use them in ritual or for your benefit, you would get a bay leaf and you would get a marker pen and then write your wish or what it is you want on it. You would then proceed to burn it over a flame while focusing on what it is that you want, and the smoke would again rise. You would then put it in something where it's not going to go through and let it smoulder until it's all gone. That is classed as the bay leaf, the wishing leaf. Many people used to do this because they really believed it would work, because the essence would be going to the gods, and so they would obviously get what it was they were asking for. Cedar was the next one. Now, it's not always easy to get hold of cedar, but it's a very good one to use if you can. Now, cedar is sacred, and it is for many, many continents around the earth. It is renownedly known as a sacred plant, used in ritual and ceremonies. Very, very good. And it smells quite nice as well. It was widely used to bless a home or bless the baby when it was born and the mother. Taken, and so it was smouldering, and of course it's a resin as well, so you would maybe add other things to it, let it fire and smoke, and then the smoke would be wafted with something like this, a feather, and you would waft it over what it was that you was trying to cleanse or bring joy and newness of life into. And it would give you the feeling of euphorica and the joy within. Also good if you was doing an exam and needed that bit of courage, that bit of confidence, and also like new job interviews, things like that. A very good thing to burn and seek that approval and give that courage to you and that newness and joy and no fear. Then you can gather the stuff together and make your own bundles out of it. Obviously you can get it in a powder, but you can also get it as it comes off of the tree. Now the next one is frankincense. Now we used to use frankincense a lot in the coven, and it was mainly for the males, for the priests and the high priest. Very masculine. Don't know why, but I mean us women liked it too, but for some reason the masculine energy of it was always used for the priest's swords and things like that. It was used as one of the oils that were used for anointing and all sorts of stuff. Very, very powerful, very mood enhancing as well. So it would help you to concentrate on what you were doing, but also give you that feeling of being in a different state of mind, which was very good when you're doing rituals. Used for breaking depressions and mental health issues. So you couldn't really want more from an aroma, but it would get into the mental feelings that you would be feeling at that time. So it's not just for rituals, guys, it's for people's health, stress and emotional pain, as well as pain itself. You would find somebody would come to coven and not really feel like being there that night. They might have a lot to do and they're just not feeling it. But once they've smelt the frankincense, or, you know, dabbed it on themselves and had a few quiet moments, they would feel so much better and so much more willing to participate, and afterwards feel overjoyed that that's what they'd achieved. So a good fragrance, if worn, and women can use it, I don't see why not. I used to wear it. I used to dab it behind my ears, so yeah. But the males used to like it, and they would put it on their swords and things. But there you go. And of course, with frankincense, you burn that on a charcoal as well, because it comes in like big crystals as well as little ones. So you can burn that on a charcoal and you get a lot more smoke from that, guys. We used to put that in our censer, which was on chains, and we could swing it, and used to get a lot off of that. Juniper is renowned for the UK. Juniper berries especially. They're also sacred in rituals and things that are done magically. Used to sain houses, used to sain people, used to sain auras. Used for people that felt that they had something stuck in them, and not exorcisms as such, but cleansing and getting rid of negativity. When used, it would have been used over the herds in the old days to purify them, get rid of any insects that would have been on their bodies, and blessings would have been chanted at the same time as using it, because that would have promoted what it was that it was being used for. So the Celts would have done it at Samhain time, because that would have been the time when they were getting the meat salted for the winter. And so these poor animals, obviously, that were going to be slaughtered would have been taken through the fires. Juniper berries would have been flashed over them, and blessings would have been said, and also they would have been smudged with it. And of course, that way there'd have been no insects on them, and they would have been ready for the ritual of slaughter. Those animals specifically were picked for that. That food and the fur from them would have been made good use of. So not only was they given to the gods, but they were helping to sustain the whole village over the winter. Mugwort. Now, mugwort is widely used by witches. The reason for that is because it is mind altering. In lots of people, it will affect you differently. Some people are more susceptible to it than others. Some need a lot, some don't need a lot. Now, you can use this in different ways. You can make a tea out of it, or you can burn it. You can add it to different things, like adding it to the clary sage. Used in ritual, but also can be used to relax and to be in a nice state of mind. So just getting a small bundle and putting it over your eyes, get a patch and put some in there, close your eyes and relax for a while. And when you take that off, you will feel like clear in your mind. Sometimes you will get psychic events happening. So if you're scared of anything like that, not advisable to do. What I would say is that around Samhain we would have mugwort in our drinks. We used to have like mulberry wine. We would add some mugwort to it and drink it, and the effects would last maybe a couple of hours. But it was also called the witch's truth time, and I think in a film that was made they did sort of show that, where they were shouting at each other and telling each other how much they disliked them. And it's not like that, guys. What it does do is it makes you, like you've had a lot of alcohol, so it makes you have no inhibitions. You might see things like moving around, and you might see stuff, so be prepared for that. but it is also good at opening up your psychic abilities and opening you up to the possibilities of other realms. It's also good relaxant and helps you to become clear on whatever it is you're worried about. Just beware, if you have too much of it, it can cause nightmares, and you don't want that. So don't overdo it. Don't think I've drank that cup and I feel no different, so I'll have another one. Let it take effect. You have to be in the receiving vibe for it to work. So you need to be relaxed. So you need to do sort of breathing techniques and opening chakras, and then drink it, and then allow it to work. Don't keep topping it up, because you will end up with really bad nightmares, and also while awake visions. So be very aware, and use the smoke. Very good as a protection, very good as a cleanser. And in the old days, it would have been burnt in a house that's been sealed up. Would fumigate and get rid of anything that shouldn't be there, including bugs. Thyme or thyme, whatever way you want to say it, is also one that is used with rosemary. Now, we always used rosemary for remembrance, so added to thyme, you would be getting the past sorted as well as the present, recalling the past and working through some shadow work. That would be used to help you, and of course this would be burnt over charcoal as well. These herbs are brilliant all put together. They all have their own ways of being used. But of course, you could do your own research on English or Scottish or Welsh or Irish herbs and make your own concoctions up. But of course, as I was saying at the beginning, it is in the term of Scotland called Saining. And so, in England, I like to say what I say. I don't say Reconing. I like to say smudging, because I know what it means to me. Sometimes it's good to use this smudging if you want to say or give words to Odin or a certain deity, because these herbs put you in the right frame of mind to be on a different level and to be able to meet your deities or your helpers and guides and ancestors. So it's good for that as well. It's also good for helping you get in touch with your philia. You know, all these things are in that level, and you need to be able to attain it to receive it. So practice with it, guys. Use it, you know, quite a lot to sort of cleanse your home out. And then there's no certain way of doing it, like the Native Americans. They've got their own way of doing it. There are no right and wrong ways of actually doing this. It is gut instinct and what you've read and understood of where you're living. You can do it the ancestral way, or you can make your own way of doing it. That's the fun of witchcraft. That is the fun of practice. You find your own way. A 10th century book, and that was called Lac Nunga. And it has recipes in it for all these things. They were all smoke rituals and healing rituals, and that is way back in the 10th century, and that is in England, and that was the Anglos. And of course that would have come from where the original Vikings came from, mixed with all the peoples of the land, come together using these things. So when people say to you, well, you don't use that in your country, it's only the Native Americans. No, and I will say that categorically. Every land on the earth has its own traditions and ways of using plants, sacred to them just as much as in America. So don't be put off by that, please, guys. But what you can say is that you're not using the sage that comes from the Americas. You're using the UK sage, grown here and available here in the wild. Another book also, which was 9th century, Ball's Lech Book, and again had recipes in and talk about smoking rituals and herbs and plants. So interesting that it goes back that far. First video back since I had a couple of weeks off, and I'm still finding my feet on my health issues, so please be kind to me. If you've enjoyed this video, think about subscribing. I don't ask very often, but I'm trying to make it my goal to get to 1,000 subscribers for this channel. It would make my day because it's been so slow growing, and I don't care once it gets to 1,000. I just want to see that 1,000 mark. So if you've been watching my content for a while and haven't, please consider doing so. Also, thank you to my new subscribers. I really do appreciate it. And to those that are always there, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Hope you're all well and everything is great. I will see you again hopefully next week. I won't say for definite because things are still up in the air. So wherever you are, whatever time of day, night or evening it may be, I wish you the best ever. House of Alang.